Consideratus. It was written by a man named Max Herman almost 100 years ago. I recorded it a long time ago, and it still holds up and has meaning to me, and I hope it does for you. This is the way it goes. Go classically amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others and may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your triumphs. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession, the change of fortune. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is to read and listen to.
Though we lived in a separate time with quite different living conditions, they still speak to you and to me. In essence, these brilliant minds of our past are still with us in the form of their words.
Be yourself.
These towering minds share the same divinity and life force as you do, and are talking to you directly in their own unique language and art form, and that you are going to apply their wisdom to your life beginning today. Let it come alive, let it shimmer in your mind, and then take that inner awakening and put it to work. Pythagoras once wrote, "Learn to be silent. Let your quiet mind listen and absorb." And during the 1600s, Blaise Pascal wrote these words, "All man's miseries derive from not being able to sit quietly in a room alone."
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, mothers, let's go down, come on down, don't you want to go down? Come on, mothers, let's go down, down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sinners, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sinners, let's go down, down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown, good Lord, show me the way.
It has been estimated that the average person has 60,000 separate thoughts each and every day. Learning to be quiet and meditate involves figuring out a way to enter the spaces between your thoughts. Practice noticing your in and out breaths as a way to cultivate turning inward to the silent self. You can do this in the midst of meetings or conversations, even parties. Just notice and follow your breathing for a few moments, many times during your day. Give yourself time this day to simply sit in a room alone and observe your mind. Keep track of the various thoughts that enter and exit and lead to the next thought. Your awareness of the frenetic activity of your mind will help you to transcend the frenzied pace of thoughts. Remember the words of Emerson as you break the bondage of your conditioned way of thinking about yourself and your life's purpose. The measure of mental health is the disposition to find good everywhere. It has been estimated that the average person has 60,000 separate thoughts each and every day. Learn to be silent. Let your quiet mind listen and absorb. All man's miseries derive from not being able to sit quietly in a room alone. Founder of one of the world's major religions, Buddha was born Prince Siddhartha in northeast India, near the borders of Nepal. Seeing the unhappiness, sickness, and death that even the most powerful and wealthiest are subject to in this life, at age 29, he abandoned the life he was living in search of a higher truth. The name Buddha is actually a title that translates to the awakened one, or the enlightened one. This is the title given to Siddhartha Gautama, who left behind the princely life at the age of 29 and went on a lifelong search for religious understanding and a way of release from the human condition. It is said that he discarded the teachings of his contemporaries, and through meditation he achieved enlightenment or ultimate understanding. From then on, he assumed the role of teacher, instructing his followers in the Dharma, or truth. He said it like this: "Do not believe what you have heard. Do not believe in tradition because it is handed down many generations. Do not believe in anything that has been spoken of many times. Do not believe because the written statements come from some old sage. Do not believe in conjecture. Do not believe in authority or teachers or elders. But, after careful observation and analysis, when it agrees with reason and it will benefit one and all, then accept it and live by it." Everything that you carry around with you that you call a belief has become your own largely because of the experiences and testimonies of other people. And if it comes to you from a source outside of yourself, regardless of how persuasive the conditioning process might be, and irrespective of how many people just like you have worked to convince you of the truth of these beliefs, the fact that it is someone else's truth means that you receive it with some question marks or doubts. He said it like this: "Do not believe what you have heard. Do not believe in tradition because it is handed down many generations. Do not believe in anything that has been spoken of many times. Do not believe because the written statements come from some old sage. Do not believe in conjecture. Do not believe in authority or teachers or elders. But, after careful observation and analysis, when it agrees with reason, and it will benefit one and all, then accept it and live by it." Lao Tzu wrote the Tao Te Ching, which means the way. It is the basis for the religious practice of Taoism. Listen to his wisdom from the 6th century BC. He says, "True leaders are hardly known to their followers. Next after them are the leaders the people know and admire. After them, those they fear. After them, those they despise. To give no trust is to get no trust. When the work's done right, with no fuss or boasting, ordinary people say, 'Oh, we did it ourselves.'" True leaders are not known by titles. It is ego who loves titles. Helping others to become leaders while exercising your own true leadership qualities means having to work hard at suspending ego's influence. True leaders enjoy the trust of others, which is very different than enjoying the perks and flattery and power that ego insists are the signs of being a leader. You need to give trust to others in order to receive that trust. Before acting, stop and ask yourself if what you are about to say is going to create hate, or fear, or admiration, or self-awareness. Then choose to nurture self-awareness, being as quietly effective as possible. Catch someone doing something right. Give no trust is to get no trust. When the work's done right, with no fuss or boasting, ordinary people say, "Oh, we did it ourselves." Confucius was a Chinese teacher and philosopher whose philosophy strongly influenced Chinese life and culture for over 2,000 years. He had this to say about patience. Do not be desirous of having things done quickly. Do not look at small advantages. Desire to have things done quickly prevents their being done thoroughly. Looking at small advantages prevents great affairs from being accomplished. Do not be desirous of having things done quickly. Do not look at small advantages. Desire to have things done quickly prevents their being done thoroughly. Looking at small advantages prevents great affairs from being accomplished. The author of the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali, lived in India probably 1 to 3 centuries ago, and is considered to be the person who established the tradition of meditation. He has been described as a mathematician of mysticism and an Einstein in the world of the Buddhas. About inspiration, he has this to say: when you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents become alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. Remember the words of Emerson as you break the bondage of your conditioned way of thinking about yourself and your life's purpose. The measure of mental health is the disposition to find good everywhere. Roman orator, statesman, and man of letters, Cicero was Rome's greatest orator and its most articulate philosopher. Listen to his list of the 6 mistakes of man. 1. The illusion that personal gain is made up of crushing others. 2. The tendency to worry about things that cannot be changed or corrected. 3. Insisting that a thing is impossible because we cannot accomplish it. 4. Refusing to set aside trivial preferences. 5. neglecting development and refinement of the mind and not acquiring the habit of reading and study. And 6, attempting to compel others to believe and live as we do. Jesus Christ is one of the world's major religious figures and is regarded as the Messiah predicted by the Old Testament prophets. On being childlike, Jesus said these words, "Except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven." This passage of Jesus from the New Testament speaks to the process of forgetting about our bodies as our primary identity, forgetting about our ethnic identity, our spoken language, our cultural labels, the shape of our eyes, or what side of the border we grew up on. Then making that conversion to become as little children who are impervious to such compartmentalizing. Jesus was not saying we should be childish and become immature, undisciplined, and uneducated. Instead, he was referring to being childlike, which is non-judgmental, loving, accepting, and incapable of placing labels on anyone or anything. Enlightenment can be seen as a process of remembering that in the heart of a little child there is purity, that it is this pure divine love and acceptance that is the ticket to the kingdom of heaven. Italian painter, sculptor, architect, musician, engineer, mathematician, and scientist, Leonardo da Vinci was one of the greatest intellects in the history of mankind. He had this to say about balance. Every now and then go away, have a little relaxation, for when you come back to your work, your judgment will be surer, since to remain constantly at work will cause you to lose power of judgment. Go some distance away because the work appears smaller and more of it can be taken in at a glance, and a lack of harmony or proportion is more readily seen. Italian painter, sculptor, architect, and poet, this Renaissance artist, Michelangelo Buonarroti, is an outstanding figure in the history of the visual arts. Listen to these words he wrote in the 16th century. The greater danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that it is too low and we reach it. English poet and dramatist of the Elizabethan and early Jacobean period, William Shakespeare is the most widely known author in all of English literature. To read William Shakespeare is to become lost in his unprecedentedly rich and inventive use of the English language. I decided to present this selection on the quality of mercy from The Merchant of Venice because I feel these are the most profound and practical 14 lines ever written on this human attribute. The quality of mercy is not strain. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptered sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God himself, and earthly power doth then show like as God's, when mercy seasons justice. The first blessing of mercy or compassion is on you, the giver. This message summarizes much of the wisdom that the psychological literature has to offer. That is, be compassionate with yourself. Do not judge yourself harshly when you make a mistake or fail to live up to some standard. Be of such a mind that you can detach from the misconduct or failure and be gentle and loving with yourself. Forgive yourself for being so human as to have wandered around in your darker corners and emerged embarrassed or disappointed with your behavior. Give yourself mercy, a quality that Shakespeare says becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. And so it becomes you as well. When you take the first blessing of mercy and apply it to yourself, you then open to this potential of offering this quality to him that takes. If you are unable to give yourself authentic compassion, you will never be able to give it to another, any more than you can give love to another if you do not love yourself, or give money to the poor if you have none. John Donne was an English poet, noted as the first and one of the finest metaphysical poets. The paradoxical human union of spirit and matter was a recurring theme. Perhaps the one single quality that defines mysticism is the idea of oneness, which John Donne expresses so poignantly in this poem written in the early years of the 17th century. No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a promontory were. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a promontory were. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. William Blake is one of my heroes. In his lifetime, he was a consummate poet, a painter, artist, a visionary mystic who was largely ignored by his contemporaries and considered to be mad. He lived his entire life on the edge of poverty and died in neglect. Yet today, this man is regarded as one of the most original and greatest figures in literary history, and his original engravings are rare treasures worth millions and millions of dollars. His most famous words are the opening lines in Allegories of Innocence, written in 1803. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour, speaks to Blake's preoccupation with the power of the mind to perceive God or the infinite, the value of our imagination, and the oneness of the universe. I have spoken elsewhere in this collection on these themes, and so I have chosen a poison tree as another great example of what this madman genius, in quotes, offers you and me today, from his creative pen some 200 plus years ago, while writing in the midst of the French Revolution, which was transpiring less than 100 or so miles from where Blake was writing. A poison tree. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath did end. I was angry with my foe, I told it not, my wrath did grow. And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears, and I sunned it with smiles and with soft, deceitful wiles. And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright, and my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. And into my garden stole, when the night had veiled the pole, in the morning glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree. The message of this poem is profound. It applies not only in personal relationships, but in dealing with everyone in your life. Anytime you feel that spark go off inside of you, and your wrath begins to grow, you are headed for a potential morass. The way out of that potential morass is to stop and make that person a friend rather than a foe.
The average person has 60,000 separate thoughts each and every day. The measure of mental health is the disposition to find good everywhere. Learn to be silent. Let your quiet mind listen and absorb. All men is good. prevents their being done thoroughly. Looking at small advantages prevents great affairs from being accomplished. His most famous words are the opening lines in Allegories of Innocence, written in 1803. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. This poem, written by the man who holds the title as the most popular American poet of the 19th century, is a tribute to one word, and that word is enthusiasm. The original Greek meaning of this word is a God within. Here's Longfellow's A Psalm of Life. William James once wrote, "There's a law in psychology, and if you form a picture in your mind of what you would like to be, and you keep and hold that picture there long enough, you will soon become exactly as you have been thinking."
If a man does not keep pace with his companions, perhaps it is because he hears a different drummer. Let him step to the music which he hears, however measured and far away. Walk with Thoreau in your own mind. Listen to the voice you hear and the drum beat only you can feel, and honor it, while honoring it in those you love as well. It is the ultimate act of unconditional love. While it may not get you any awards while you are alive, you can take comfort in knowing that you fulfilled your own divine purpose and encouraged others to do the same. American poet, essayist, and philosopher known for challenging traditional thought, Emerson's philosophy is characterized by its reliance on intuition as the way to comprehend reality. Listen to this excerpt from Self-Reliance. "These are the voices which we hear in solitude, but they grow faint and inaudible as we enter into the world. Society everywhere is in conspiracy against the manhood of every one of its members. Society is a joint stock company in which the members agree, for the better securing of his bread, to each shareholder, to surrender the liberty and culture of the eater. The virtue in most request is conformity. Self-reliance is its aversion. It loves not realities and creators, but names and customs. Whoso would be a man must be a nonconformist. He who would gather immortal palms must not be hindered by the name of goodness, but must explore if it be goodness. Nothing is at last sacred but the integrity of your own mind." Now remember that Emerson was also a minister who is informing us that the mind is what is sacred, not the rules, not the laws, not the societal mores, but your mind. Further on in Self-Reliance, Emerson declares, "No law can be sacred to me but that of my nature." This profoundly courageous statement is from a fearless man who knew that divinity and sacredness are not in the institutions of the church but in the minds of individuals. Our conduct makes us divine creatures. How we use our minds as free-thinking people is what makes us sacred. American poet, translator, and college professor, Longfellow is considered to be both a popular and serious poet. A Psalm of Life, first published in 1839 from a collection of poetry called Voices of the Night. This poem, written by the man who holds the title as the most popular American poet of the 19th century, is a tribute to one word, and that word is enthusiasm. The original Greek meaning of this word is a God within. Here's Longfellow's A Psalm of Life. Tell me not in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream, for the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art, to dust returnest, was not spoken of the soul. Not enjoyment and not sorrow is our destined end or way, but to act that each tomorrow find us farther than today. Art is long and time is fleeting, and our hearts, though stout and brave, still like muffled drums are beating funeral marches to the grave. In the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like dumb driven cattle, be a hero in the strife. Trust no future, however pleasant, let the dead past bury its dead, act in the living present, heart within, and God o'erhead. Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another, sailing o'er life's solemn main, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing shall take heart again. Let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. Emily Dickinson was an American poet who spent her life in Amherst, Massachusetts. She wrote close to 2,000 poems during a reclusive life dominated by a stern Calvinist father. Like Whitman, Frost, and Emerson, she wrote about an inner spirit in nature and mankind. This poem is entitled The Single Hound, and it's one of my very favorites. This quiet dust was gentlemen and ladies, and lads and girls, was laughter and ability and sighing, and frocks and curls. This passive place, a summer's nimble mansion where bloom and bees fulfilled their oriental circuit, then ceased like these. In another of her short poems, Emily Dickinson writes, "Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality." This awareness is a great source of liberation. It is your ticket to eternity. It allows you to stop fearing death. In many ways, the death of your body can be a great teacher rather than something to fear. William James once wrote, "There is a law in psychology that if you form a picture in your mind of what you would like to be, and you keep and hold that picture there long enough, you will soon become exactly as you have been thinking." This process of forming a picture in our mind is often referred to as visualization and is based on the biblical idea, "As ye think, so shall ye be." This goes well beyond the idea of positive thinking. If you want to see your life work at an entirely new level, I encourage you to discover how this law works for you personally. We think in pictures, just as we dream in pictures, not words, sentences, or phrases, but mental images. The words are symbols enabling us to communicate or describe those pictures. It is this picturing process that William James is saying that you control with your free will. If you can learn to hold those pictures long enough without allowing anyone to weaken them, you will actually convert those pictures into your reality. You will become a co-creator of your very existence and all that shows up in your life. A theatrical personality attracted to spiritualism, theosophy, and mysticism, Wisconsin-born Ella Wheeler Wilcox was much loved by the readers of her syndicated column of prose and poetry and the volumes of poetry which she wrote. This is one of her poems entitled Solitude. Laugh and the world laughs with you, weep and you weep alone. For the sad old earth must borrow its mirth, but has trouble enough of its own. Sing, and the hills will answer. Sigh, it is lost on the air. The echoes bound to a joyful sound, but shrink from voicing care. Rejoice, and men will seek you. Grieve, and they turn and go. They want full measure of all your pleasure, but they do not need your woe. Be glad, and your friends are many. Be sad, and you lose them all. There are none to decline your nectared wine, but alone you must drink life's gall. Feast, and your halls are crowded. Fast, and the world goes by. Succeed and give, and it helps you live, but no man can help you die. There is room in the halls of pleasure for a long and lordly train, but one by one we must all file on through the narrow aisles of pain.
Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy. In every life we have some trouble. When you worry, you make it double. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy now. Don't worry. Be happy.
The title of this famous poem is called Solitude. I think a far more fitting title would be Attitude. What Ella Wilcox is saying to us via this oft-quoted poem is that whatever attitude you decide to adopt is precisely what you will attract into your own life. Think sad and you attract emptiness. Think mirth and the world will laugh right along with you. This beautifully simple poem is also a very elementary presentation of energy field theory, written before fields of energy were contemplated. Essentially, energy field theory says that there is an invisible vibratory field of energy surrounding all living objects, including human beings. This field is created by how we think and process our experiences wherever we are in the world. you are impacting and being impacted by the energy fields of many people each and every day. We attract into our lives pretty much what we ourselves project with our own attitude. Refuse to give energy to things you don't want or don't believe in. Every morning as you take in your first view of day, you have the choice to say, "Good morning, God," or "Good God, morning." Whichever you choose is precisely the energy that you will invite into your life.
Don't worry, be happy. Now there is this song I wrote. I hope you learned it note for note like good little children. Don't worry. Be happy. Listen to what I say. In your life, expect some trouble. But when you worry, you make it double. But don't worry. Be happy. Be happy now. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't do it. Be happy. Put a smile on your face. Don't bring everybody down like this. Don't worry. It will soon pass, whatever it is. Don't worry, be happy.
Born in India of English parents, Rudyard Kipling was a successful novelist and poet and short story writer whose popularity in America was second only to Mark Twain during the 5 years he lived in Vermont while publishing The Jungle Books and Captains Courageous. Listen to this poem. It's called If. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings, and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute, the 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. Known as Mahatma, which means great soul, Gandhi advocated nonviolence in his fight for independence and civil rights for the people of India. He says, "Strength of numbers is the delight of the timid. The valiant in spirit glory in fighting alone." Once the ego becomes involved, you literally lose the ability to create what your heart tells you is your destiny. Thus, by sharing your innermost desire, you seek out the strength of numbers, which Gandhi says is the delight of the timid. Make no mistake about it, the timid do not manifest their own dreams. They join the ranks of the unfulfilled. By fighting alone for what you know to be your destiny, regardless of what others say, you become the valiant in spirit who glory in fighting alone. Spirit is the source of all that you see, all that you witness, all that you observe. You can reconnect by avoiding ego's influence. This means specifically keeping your dreams to yourself and sharing them only with God, or whatever you call that invisible source of everything in our material world. Reconnect to that source and regain all of the powers of that source. Invite the ego and you ensure separation from your source. Resist the need to have many people endorse your dreams, and instead be a valiant spirit who glories in trusting your inner guidance. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a Baptist minister and a passionate fighter for civil rights through nonviolent action. Here's one of Dr. King's most famous quotes. The nonviolent approach does not immediately change the heart of the oppressor. It first does something to the hearts and souls of those committed to it. It gives them a new self-respect. It calls up resources of strength and courage that they did not know they had. Finally, it reaches the opponent, and so stirs his conscience that reconciliation becomes a reality. This reminds me of a story about the Buddha. It seems that a man had heard of the reputation that Buddha had for being peaceful and nonviolent regardless of what he encountered in life. This man decided to test the Divine One, and he traveled a long distance to be in his presence. For 3 days he was rude and obnoxious to the Buddha. He criticized and found fault with everything the Buddha said or did. He verbally abused the Buddha, attempting to get him to react angrily. Yet the Buddha never faltered. Each time he responded with love and kindness. Finally, the man could take it no longer. How could you be so peaceful and kind when all I've ever said to you was antagonistic, he asked. The Buddha's response was in the form of a question to the man. If someone offers you a gift, and you do not accept that gift, to whom does the gift belong? The Buddha replied. Your initial objective will not be to change anyone, but rather to deliberately and lovingly work on being an instrument of grace and indulgence. As those around us attempt to draw us into their battles, our commitment to being peaceful allows us to have a different dialogue with ourselves before we even consider accepting of the gifts being offered. Remind yourself that your objective in choosing to be a nonviolent person is not to change anyone or to fix the world. Your objective is to give yourself the self-respect that you deserve as a divine creation of God, and to remove the pain associated with conflict and dis-ease. You will then begin to effortlessly radiate that strength of self-respect and peace, and impact those around you simply by your presence. Mother Teresa, the diminutive spiritual giant who worked daily in the streets of Calcutta seeing Jesus Christ in all of his distressing disguises, as she put it. She had this wisdom to share with all of us. There should be less talk. A preaching point is not a meeting point. What do you do then? Take a broom and clean someone's house. That says enough.
The measure of mental health is the disposition to find good everywhere.
The old aphorism, I hear, I forget. I see, I remember. I do, I understand.
And now for my next number, I'd like to return to the classics. Perhaps the most famous classic in all the world of music.
This piece is called Desiderata. It was written by a man named almost 100 years ago. I recorded it a long time ago, and it still holds up and has meaning for me. I hope it does for you. This is the way it goes. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble,
It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is perennial as the grass. Take kindly to the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt, the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him or her to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations, in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy.